In this video, I want to show you what kind of magic you can do with PDF files if you're using Encodian. Yes, it is somehow sponsored video. I have created videos for Encodian before, but it was not based on their request. But this time they reached out and they asked me if I can create some more videos about Encodian. And in this video, I want to show you one of the things that you can do with Encodian specifically and not so easy with the other tools. But before we get into it, last week I hit 10,000 subscribers. I would like to thank all of you for reaching out, for subscribing, for liking my videos, sharing, and helping and supporting me to get to this point. Now, without wasting time, let's go with the content of this video, which is something unique. Let's start with the setup that I put together to show you what you can do with Encodian when it comes to working with PDF files and how easy it is to work with. I created a list inside SharePoint called Article Review. It has only 3 fields. One of them is title, which is the article title. The other one is stage, which means in which stage the article is when it comes to publishing. And finally, there is an article text, which is a rich text and contains the entire article text with formatting and style. This list is managed in PowerApps. So we have title, stage, and the article. What we are trying to do, we would like to add a PDF download button. So when we click on it, it downloads a PDF file that contains all the article with all these formatting, plus a watermark that shows you in which stage this article is. This is my SharePoint list. Title, stage is choice. So let's see what options are available. Options are draft, submitted for review, approved, rejected, published, or archived. The article itself, let me just show you what we got here. It is multiple line of text, and I've also enabled rich text. So it can contain font, color, styling, or whatever that you want. On the other side, inside PowerApps, I created an app. This app has a home screen. That in this home screen, I have a data table that shows you all the values inside that SharePoint list. And when I click on any one of these articles, it shows me the entire article. Now, depending on which stage the article is, if it is in draft mode, people can update it and we can save it. While if it is in published or anything other than draft, this article is read-only. Now, there are 2 things that you might be curious about. First thing is that how do you bring the rich text inside a PowerApps form? I've already covered these things in my Udemy course, PowerApps Crash Course from UI to Integration. So if you have taken that course, that's not even a question. But if you really want to know about this piece, put it in the comment section and I will show you how to do it inside PowerApps. Regardless, let's not get sidetracked. The only thing is that for this rich text input, I changed the mode, which is display mode. So if I say if the variable that contains the current article, if the stage value is draft, then put it in edit mode. Otherwise, it's view. So basically means that we can change the content of this guy only if the article is in draft mode. And the way that I bring this article from this screen to the other screen is very simple. If someone clicks on this column, unselect, it puts the selected record in a variable, and then it navigates to the other screen. On the other screen, the form that I have, let me pick the form. You see the data source is the article review, while the item is the variable that holds the current selected record on the other screen. These are the basics of the PowerApps. So what I'm trying to do now, I want to add my PDF button here so that it will do the download. We can do it different ways, but let's look into our available options. The first thing, there is a new component that Microsoft has added to Power Automate, which is called Convert File. It's still in preview mode, but based on my own experience, it works pretty good, and you can pick the file and convert it to PDF. The only problem is that here we don't have a file. We just have a SharePoint field, and that SharePoint field contains raw HTML. So basically, if you want to use this approach, which is free, you can simply get that HTML, put it in a file, then point this action to that file, and this guy is going to convert it to PDF. And after that, you can download it from your app. On the other side, we have another component from Adobe, which is convert static HTML to PDF, which does exactly the same thing. You should provide a file name. Mainly, it needs to identify which file you have. You can put the file content in which you can put your HTML content and the PDF file name that you want to produce. So this guy will do pretty good job in what we are going to do. So this guy sounds like a good option. The only thing is that it cannot add watermark to the PDF that you already have. Also, when you're doing the conversion, it doesn't have a watermark option. So when it comes to watermarking, we are out of luck with Adobe. But now let's see the Encodian. Encodian has a component called Convert HTML to PDF, which can accept the HTML data. We will give it the PDF file name, and it will generate the file name with lots of options that I will look into that. And in this video, I want to show you how you can create this PDF file using the Encodian component. So the job is very simple. All we need to do, we need to get that field that contains the whole article, feed it to the HTML data field, and this guy is going to give us the PDF version of whatever that we provided as HTML. If this guy is so good, let's go and get it. To get that, simply go to Encodian.com, just go to products, and the product that we need to use for this project is going to be Floor. I click on this, and as soon as you open it, on the first page, you will see something called Activate Trial, right? There we go. I click on this guy. It brings you to this screen, which has a form. You just put your first name, last name, company name, all those things, and just click on Submit. And immediately they send you a trial version that gives you a few hundred calls to the Encodian services within a month. That email contains a product key that you can just copy and paste it and bring it to Power Automate, and all of a sudden the magic happens and all the Encodian actions start working. Now let's go to our PowerApps. Inside PowerApps, first of all, I need a PDF button here. I click on Media and I upload the icon. And here I pick up my PDF icon. I click on Open. And I have the PDF icon. Now I can add this icon to the screen. So I add an image, and that image is added to the top of this screen. And for the properties of this image, I click on this guy and say, hey, the image is going to be my PDF icon. All right. When someone clicks on this PDF, we need to call a flow that does all the tricks backstage. This is our strategy. When someone clicks on the button should pass ID of the selected item. Your flow should go to the item, pick it up, get the article, pass it to Encodian, and get the PDF as a result. And let's see how we can do that. I directly go to flow.microsoft.com. Just make sure you're in the right environment. So here I'm inside the YouTube demos environment and inside PowerApps. I'm in the same environment. If it is not the matching environment, just click on environments and pick the right environment that you created your PowerApps in. But here I want to create a flow. And this flow is going to be an instant cloud flow. I don't want to use PowerApps. I'm using PowerApps v2. If you want to know the difference, I already have a video for that. I will put the link here. I call it Create PDF with watermark. And just like that, I scroll down and I click on Create. Now, this app should accept the article ID. So I get a number and I call it article ID, and whatever the user enters will come here. Then right after that, I need to get the item that I want to generate the PDF from. So I just go back to my SharePoint list, copy, I come back here. So I need to use get item. Get item picks one item. So I click on get item. For the URL, I go back to my SharePoint site, I copy the URL, and I bring it back here, and I just click on this drop down, and I stick the URL here. Got it. I pick the list. It's going to be article review. The ID is coming from the PowerApps trigger. And all of a sudden, I have the ID that I want to work with. Let's go there and test it before doing anything. Here, I click on the all items. I click on edit current view, and I pick the ID. And I also want to bring the ID to the beginning. Oh gosh, why is it so big? Let me make it a little bit smaller. Great. So now I click on ID and I put it as the first item and I click on OK. So now we are back to the same list, but we can see the ID. And now if I want to test my flow, I can save it, then I can test it. So let me see, manually test, continue, and I just need to put a number that I know it's already there. Like for example, 2, I pick 2, and I click on run flow, done. So my connection is fine, it got the item, everybody's happy. Now, I need to pass the item values to the Encodian component that we were looking into. Convert HTML to PDF. So I come back here, edit, add new step, convert HTML to PDF. And this is what you get, although I have the Encodian key, but I never created a connector in this environment. So I go back to my email, get the API key that I got in my email, and stick it here, and everything is good. I give it a name as Encodian Trial. I just put the API key here, and I click on Create. That easy. The PDF file name is a name that I can simply give it to it. It doesn't really matter, but I want to put a name together that makes sense. Ideally, I want to make sure that this name is unique, so I go back to the get item, and I just pick the ID that I got from there. But I say .pdf. So it's going to be 1.pdf, 2.pdf, but we exactly know that this file that we generate is related to that specific article. The file content, we don't care. We don't have it because there's no file, but instead we have the HTML data. The HTML data here is article, right? Remember here, this field is what we are looking for. HTML URL, if it is somewhere that you don't know, it can still go there, get the content and bring it here and produce everything. Page orientation is going to be portrait, page size, or whatever else that you want. There are tons of other options that you can say, this is my top margin, bottom margin, and all those things. You may want to increase the bottom margin, for example, maybe to 40 or 50 if you want to add page number to it, which is a good idea. And that's it. I can save this guy. But this is not all we need. We need a little bit more than that. Remember this watermark? We need to produce that. We need to get the status and put it as watermark. We are lucky because Encodian has another component. Let me pick Encodian here, which can add watermark. It can also add watermark to Word. Not only that, it can add image watermark. So if you have a picture, put the content here and pass it to this API, and it's going to put picture watermark. Sky's the limit. But at the moment, I want to add text watermark to PDF. I will use the simple one, not the advanced one. Click. Now, the file name is going to be the same file name. You can get it from the previous component, or you can get it from the id.pdf. The file content is coming from the convert HTML to PDF. So convert HTML to PDF generates a file content, and I can directly pass it to this action. The text that you want to watermark, hey, we have it in a field, and that field was stage. And because it's a choice field, you got to pick the value. Now, you can skip the first page. Orientation is horizontal, but I want it to be diagonal. Now, here is a little bit tricky. If I expand this show advanced options, don't ignore it because all of a sudden it becomes important. Text color is extremely important because at the moment this is somehow a red color. Let's make it something like gray or even black. Now, what happens when you add the watermark, it adds the watermark on the top of the screen. So Here, if you put the watermark, this watermark will cover your text. That's why all of a sudden opacity becomes important. So I put opacity like, for example, 0.2. We will adjust it later on, not a big deal. And also text size. Let's say if you want to increase the size to 50, and if you want, you can also change the font. And that's it. I just save it. And now this guy has watermarked the PDF that the previous action created. All we need to do, we need to save it somewhere inside SharePoint. Inside SharePoint, I go there and I create a library. And I call it articles. I click on create. And that's it. I just get the URL again. And we go back inside Power Automate. I can create a file there. Create file inside SharePoint. Again, stick the URL there. I need to pick the file path, and I click on this guy. I need to add it to articles. I add it directly to the root folder, it doesn't matter. File name, we have the file name from Encodian. You can get it from either one of them. And the file content should come from the second one because we want the content after it is watermarked. Boom, we are done. I can save it and I can test it. Let's see if it does the job. Click, test, and I say continue. Article number 2, we know that article number 2 exists, and I click on Run Flow and see if it really does the job. One action complete, second action, and the file. It says it's created, so let's go and see. I just refresh this library, and you see the file is there, and if I click on it, all of a sudden you see that this watermark is tiny, let's say 150. If you want a bigger one maybe, so I can go back to my flow, edit, I can go to watermark, and maybe I want to increase the size to 80 maybe. And you can also maybe convert this text to uppercase, things like that. They are easy. You can simply just, let me just remove this. So I just need to click on expression. I come back here and I say to upper. And here I can go to the dynamic content. And this time I need to get the stage value. There we go. And I click on OK. So all of a sudden, we have a formula that converts the stage value to uppercase, and it passes it as the text to be watermarked. Let's test it one more time, and we are good to go. Test, test, and I just pass, for example, 2 again, run flow, done. All right, one step complete, and boom, done. I just go back here. I click back. F5, gosh, what did I do? I click on 2 again, and this time it's all uppercase and the size is reasonable. Now for PowerApps to download this file, we need to pass the URL of the file to PowerApps. So I click on Edit, I come back here, and I can use PowerApps, respond to PowerApp or flow, and I can click on Add. This time I want to return text, and that's going to be file URL. And the file URL, we got to get it from create file. From create file, you can have the path. So it's going to be the path to the file or folder. So if I click on it, it's going to get the path. But this path is not a complete path. You need to go there to the site and get the site URL and bring it here. So I just go back here and I get the site URL. To avoid any kind of confusion, simply right-click on the header of the site and say copy link address. I just go back to flow and I go to the beginning and I paste this guy here. Looks all good. Let's test it one more time. Test, manually create, and this time let's pick 3 and I click on run flow. And I click on done. It's completed. Let's go back to our articles, tree is created. Let's click on this guy and see what we got. We got a published article. I just go back to my flow. I expand this guy just to make sure we got the right URL. So I just copy it to the end. And you see I have one extra / here. My bad. I got to go back there and fix it. So this / shouldn't be there. I click on save again. One more test. I click on manual. Number 3 again. Run flow. Done. I go back here. Go back. Refresh. And I click on number 3 again. Everything is good. Let me go back to the flow and see if I got the URL right. So let's mark and copy this. I put this guy here. And hopefully this guy is going to open the file with the watermark. So we have the URL. All we need to do, we need to call this flow from inside PowerApps. I go back to my PowerApps, and when someone clicks on this PDF icon, I go to the unselect, and I want to call the flow. I need to make a connection to the Power Automate. So I click on this guy, and I can say add flow. You can see our flow, create PDF with watermark. I click on this guy. So now I have a reference to that. Bingo. I can come here and I can say create PDF with watermark run. I need to pass the article ID, which is inside that variable, which shows the current article .id. I pass this guy to the watermark, and whatever it returns, it has the file URL, which is exactly what I need. And simple task, I just need to say download from the path that this guy gives to us. Save, and let's test it. So I click on run, and I go back to the articles list. I pick, for example, article 1. Now we can click on this PDF file. So you see it's doing something. Probably you want to add a spinner here on the screen, but that's not the purpose. And all of a sudden, you see that we have enabled download of the article with the watermark. As simple as that. I think it's needless to say, if you want to add page numbers to this guy, you just need to come back here and add another action. And again, Encodian gives you page number for PDF. Add page numbers, and that's it. You can simply add the page numbers to the output from the second or the first one. It doesn't really matter in which order you want to add it. Now let's come to a conclusion. Yes, it is a sponsored video, and logically at this point I should say yes, Encodian is the best and you have to go for this, and Adobe is terrible, don't even look at that, but that's not the reality. The reality is that I personally don't see Encodian and Adobe as even competitor, although there is an overlap when it comes to working with PDF files. So the way that I look at it is that there are things that Adobe is better in doing that, not in a sense of the way it works, but when it comes to cost. But at the same time, working with Encodian, it gives you lots of other tools that Adobe does not even think about it. So regardless, if you are a developer, if you are a consultant and they ask you which tool is the best for you, probably you're leaning towards Encodian because it does a lot more other things for you than just conversion of the PDF files. But when it comes to working with specifically PDF files, working with signatures, digital signatures, and things like that, probably you are better off with Adobe. At the end, if it is with me, I go with both of them. I buy both subscriptions for my company, and I let the developers and the consultants choose which one is the best for each scenario. That's the best way to save everybody's work, time, and maintenance at the same time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.